Algerian actress Baya Bouzar, known to generations by her electrifying stage name Biyouna, died Tuesday in Algiers at age 73, after a long struggle with a long and quietly endured illness. Her passing, confirmed through French media reports from ICI, reverberated across Algeria, France, and every community that once found itself captivated by her unmistakable screen presence. For many, the news felt like the dimming of a rare light, an icon who was never simply an actress, but a symbol of audacity, survival, and unfiltered artistic truth. Her name carried weight in living rooms, cafes, and theaters. In her home country, she was not merely a performer but a cultural force woven into the texture of modern Algerian identity. She was born on September 13, 1952, in Balouzdoda neighborhood in Algiers, known for its working-class grit, humor, and history. Balouzdoda, formerly known as Belcourt, produced some of Algeria's fiercest creative spirits. And Biyouna embodied that spirit from the moment she took her first breath. She was not born into privilege or into a family destined for the arts. She emerged from the same narrow streets and crowded buildings that shaped the toughness and warmth of ordinary Algerian life. Those streets taught her how to read people, how to provoke, how to entertain, and how to find her own voice in a world that did not hand opportunities to women easily. People who knew her as a child spoke of a young girl who could imitate anyone, from neighbors arguing over borrowed sugar to weary mothers chastising their children in the street. She was the kind of child who performed long before she ever set foot on a stage. It was in her blood, a restless, vibrant energy that demanded expression. Yet even with natural talent, no one could have predicted how far she would go, or how iconic she would become. Her rise to fame began early. At just 19 years old, she secured a role in the 1973 television series Al-Harik the Fire. The show took Algeria by storm. Television at the time was one of the few mediums connecting people across the country. And when Biyouna appeared on screen, audiences reacted instantly. Her presence was something different, unapologetically bold, emotionally intuitive, and grounded in a realism that felt new for Algerian television. She didn't act. She lived inside her characters, making even the smallest gestures feel authentic. Al-Harik became a phenomenon not solely because of its writing or themes, but because viewers felt mesmerized by the young woman who transformed scenes with a glance, a smirk, a sudden burst of intensity. Overnight, she became one of the most recognizable faces in Algeria. Fame came quickly, but not gently. In a conservative society still negotiating its identity after independence, Biyouna's talent and strong personality were both celebrated and criticized. She was outspoken, expressive, and unintimidated by controversy, traits that made her both admired and misunderstood. But even then, as a teenager turned national figure, she carried herself with an almost rebellious self-assurance, an unwillingness to shrink because others felt uncomfortable with a woman taking up space. If anything, the resistance she encountered only sharpened her resolve. That resolve would be tested in ways she never imagined. During the 1990s, Algeria was plunged into one of the darkest chapters in its history, often referred to as the Black Decade. Terror and political turmoil gripped the country as armed groups targeted intellectuals, artists, journalists, and public figures. Many fled, seeking safety in Europe or neighboring countries. The entertainment industry nearly collapsed as theaters closed, productions halted, and fear infiltrated every aspect of cultural life. But Biyouna refused to leave. Her decision to stay in Algeria during that period became one of the defining markers of her legacy. At a time when remaining in the public eye meant risking one's life, she continued to work, perform, and appear before audiences who desperately needed moments of laughter, escape, and connection. Her refusal to abandon her home was seen as an act of defiance, not only against the extremists who wanted to silence artists but also against the climate of fear that suffocated the nation. People spoke of her courage with a reverence usually reserved for political figures. She became, in the eyes of many, a resilient guardian of Algerian art. Behind the scenes, those years were not easy for her. Friends recalled how she would come to sets wary but determined. Some nights she slept in different locations for safety. Some days she received threats that would have paralyzed anyone else. Yet she carried on, anchored by her love for her craft and her stubborn loyalty to the country that raised her. She believed Algeria needed its artists not later, not after the danger passed, but right then, when the people were starved for stories, humor, and the familiar comfort of television characters they loved. By 1999, however, the violence finally began to recede. The tension that had gripped the country eased enough for many artists to travel or relocate. And it was then, After a decade of unwavering commitment, that Biyouna allowed herself to leave Algeria for the first time. She traveled not to escape but to evolve. Franco-Algerian director Nader Mokhnake invited her to Morocco for the filming of Le Harem de Madame Osmane, a project that marked the beginning of a powerful second phase in her career. With Mokhnake, Biyouna found a collaborator who appreciated her fiery personality and her ability to shape characters that straddled comedy, tragedy, and biting social commentary. Working with him allowed her to expand her craft beyond Algerian screens, introducing her to audiences who had never before witnessed her unique magnetism. Her performance in Le Harem de Madame Osmane didn't just revive her career, it reinvented it. She brought to life a character textured with humor, vulnerability, and blunt authenticity. Western critics, unfamiliar with her earlier Algerian work, were struck by the naturalism she brought to the screen. She wasn't merely acting, she was embodying years of lived experience, chaos, survival, laughter, and sorrow all woven into every expression. It was the type of performance that made viewers feel as if they were watching someone they had known their entire lives. After the film's success, Biyouna gave another unforgettable performance in Viva la Audrey, portraying a former cabaret dancer navigating a society torn between tradition and modernity. That role was particularly emblematic of her artistic bravery. She stepped into the life of a woman who refused to be silenced by time, shame, or public scrutiny, a character who bore a striking resemblance to Biyouna herself. Her ability to play such roles with sincerity and nuance challenged perceptions of Algerian womanhood and opened space for more complex female characters in North African cinema. Too many women watching, she became a mirror reflecting their quiet struggles, suppressed desires, and unspoken fears. Then came Delise Paloma, where she portrayed an opportunist whose colorful personality and unapologetic ambition made her unforgettable. That film expanded her influence beyond Algeria, introducing her to international audiences who admired her comedic precision and dramatic intensity. She became, in the eyes of new fans, the embodiment of a certain North African archetype: bold, witty, cunning, and deeply human. Her work consistently pushed boundaries. In 2017, she appeared in a Mon Gigi, Mi Cache Encore pour Fumor, a film exploring the private conversations, desires, and frustrations of women in a home. The film sparked debate across Algeria and beyond because of its intimate portrayal of women's issues and its daring scenes, which conservative circles found controversial. But controversy never frightened Biyouna. If anything, she leaned into it. She believed cinema existed, not to conform but to provoke, to challenge, and to break silences that trapped entire generations. And once again, even at an older age, she found herself at the center of public conversations about art, morality, and the boundaries of representation. She continued building her career internationally, appearing in French productions, such as Le Flic de Belleville in 2018. Her fluency in both Algerian culture and French cinematic language made her a powerful bridge between the two worlds. She represented a shared history, complicated, layered, and deeply emotional. Her films reminded audiences of the intertwined past between Algeria and France, a relationship marked by pain and memory but also by art, humor, and shared human stories.